Diego here. Want to invite you to go check out Publis. Publis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out Publis.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Pre-Race. Definitely a very exciting weekend. Of course, Memorial Day here in the United States, holiday weekend. With me, Kobe Lambert from the podium finish, and we have Daniel Zeri from Racers, the girls behind the helmet. We have a lot to talk about, including MotoGP and, of course, the NASCAR Cup Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway. But we'll first start with Extreme E and some pretty big news that came out with this round, the Ocean X Prix. Claudia Hurton has apparently withdrew from the race after contracting a virus. Now, we do want to stress and emphasize it is not reported as COVID or related to COVID, but rather a heavy stomach bug, according to App Motorsports. Julia Kleinschmidt will be replacing her. So definitely, all of a sudden, we have this developing story with Extreme E and the Ocean X Prix. Daniel, what's Judah's record when it comes to motorsports?
Well, Jutta Kleinschmidt is the reserve driver for the female reserve driver in Extreme E, and also she is the course designer in the series. So it came a little bit of a surprise that she had to last minute jump in the car and replace Claudia, who also had a very unfortunate round last time out in Saudi Arabia when she had two famous crashes into her first weekend. As you reported, she is ill and she's unwell to race this weekend. So Jutta Kleinschmidt, a legend driver in Germany and in all motorsport, in off-road racing. She was the and she is so far the only woman to have won a Dakar rally. So one of the most legendary and most important motor race on the planet. But it wasn't just a one-off, I would say, because she also finished second and 2 times third in that race. She won in 2001, her really big breakthrough success. So it's 20 years from now, and she is coming back to Senegal because, of course, the race finished in Dakar, and they are now Extreme E is now racing in Dakar for the Ocean X Prix. So also an interesting stat that she's back 20 years from her big breakthrough success. And she's back in the car, and today she had the first part of qualifying, and she was straight on pace. So it was awesome to see her, such an important driver, such a I would say influential driver. Also, she's also part of the FIA Women in Motorsport Commission that is doing so much lately, together with fellow rally legend Michel Mouton. And also interesting, co-driver in one of the podium finishes in Dakar was also Michel Mouton's co-driver. So I think those two lady racers were from the 80s to the from like 20 years ago were among the most important and influential female drivers in all motor racing.
Very influential, and it's really interesting bringing up the course designer, fill it in. Of course, one of the things with Extreme E, not a whole lot of time there, and one of the things she addressed as well was only really really no advantage, but she did get some practice in the vehicle using one of the straightaways to learn the functions of all the vehicle capabilities, the buttons and everything, and especially now filling it in. It's a tough break for App Motorsports. Of course, up front, everyone is following the battle, and of course, the very familiar name up front, Sir Lewis Hamilton, his X44 team with Sebastian Lowe and Christina Gutierrez. Again, both of them looking very fast. First round of qualifying in the books, they are on the pole. Of course, we do have more qualifying. Chip Ganassi racing second, Kyle LeDuc and Sarah Price. Essentially, big turnaround considering what happened the last race weekend. We had Extreme E, and then third, that is where we see essentially Nico Rosberg's team right there. So definitely going to be something where we're going to be following all the racing weekend for Extreme E. And considering what happened to Kyle in qualifying, he took out a camera during qualifying. Very aggressive. Of course, we know he had two big crashes in the prior round. Sarah Price, when she took over the vehicle, laid down a very solid lap. My question for you all, and starting with you, Kobe, considering the unique format where we have two different drivers for each team, are we seeing how the different driving styles really plays a big factor in Extreme E more than any other series?
Oh yes, I will say Extreme E is a really unique series, and I'm still learning the series myself, because with all of the different driving styles you see in between two drivers, we see some drivers drive a little bit more on the conservative side, and then others are really aggressive. And we've seen some tumbles before, especially in the last round. It was really crazy, some of the incidents we saw in the season opener. But overall, I think the drivers have to find the right balance between conservative and aggressive, because if you're too conservative, you might bring the car home in one piece, but you're not going to be in contention for the championship. And if you're too aggressive, you might end up having a massive shunt, and then you might also be out of the championship as well. But if you're not aggressive, you're not going to be up there contending for the win. So I really do think that each driver, well, the two drivers who are sharing the car, they need to make sure that they're hitting all of their marks and limiting mistakes.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Kobe, definitely. I would say that I was a little bit surprised by LeDuc first round in qualifying today. Yesterday, we've seen the levels, the competitive levels from the teams are pretty much on par with the first weekend, I would say, with the Lewis Hamilton's team being right up there. With again Rosberg's team being very consistent, with also Molly Taylor. She was really close actually on pace with Christopherson. I think it's very important to be really consistent and pretty close on times, lap after lap, and she's doing just that. And also Christina Gutierrez with Sebastian Loeb, which is, I mean, a pretty big achievement all in itself. Well, today was a little bit more of a surprise, but I think Sarah Price is someone to watch, definitely, because they had a very, very unfortunate round last time out in Saudi, and now I think she's one to watch, and probably it's going to be a good weekend for them, I think. Also, I would say pretty interesting from the Veloce team that in the first round they had that shunt into quali one, and were out of pretty much all weekend, and some other interesting performances. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see the second part of qualifying. Then I think it's about to get underway.
Yeah, the second round qualifying, when that gets underway, it's going to be really interesting to see. And I do have to agree, it seems compared to other series, especially where we see co-drivers, here it makes a really big difference. I mean, Chip Ganassi racing, Kyle had two issues on the track. Sarah seems to be really good at bringing the vehicle back in one piece. Of course, off-road racing, a lot more varieties, I think, when it comes to hazards out on the track. The track is, of course, changing when you have sand and different elements compared to tarmac. Still a lot of change, especially the weather change in tarmac and the car changing lap after lap. I do feel like we're getting a sense where the driving styles are really starting to show the differences, and I think some of them will be an advantage at some point, but just pushing it too much, having a driver that's too pushy, next thing you know, you can end up in a situation where you're in the back in the crazy race and not scoring points. The Big Shock in the back, Ready Autosport and Science team. Both of them qualifying towards the back. Science team didn't even finish their run. We still have the second round of qualifying, which will determine the parents for the races. But as you mentioned, Veloce, we saw Jamie Chadwick, 6th place. This is her first off-road race. When it comes to this track, and especially this track, it is not the high speeds like we saw in the prior round. It's a lot more technical to boost over passing on dirt. Do you feel this is a bit more of an advantage for Jamie Chadwick, especially since they all didn't participate in that last round?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. She has been training a little bit with Stéphane Sarrazin in the past couple of weeks. Sarrazin is a really interesting driver because he has some background in both track racing. Also did some Formula One races back in 1999. But also has been doing a lot of rallying so far. So I think it has been a good practice for Jamie to train with her teammate. And I think you're right. She was a little bit overcautious in some points, but the track being a little bit more technical and not that Dakar style, I would say, that fast in like the previous one. Might help her a little bit more because there are some more corners, something that might a little bit resemble from a skill set in track racing. So I would say that we will see probably Jamie a little bit higher up the order. She didn't even have the opportunity to set a competitive lap time last time out in Saudi Arabia. While now her first lap was she brought the car home in one piece, and she before handing over to Sarrazin, and I think that was what the team expected her to do. But maybe from the second run, I think she will start to take some more chances and some more risks, and hopefully we'll see her a little bit higher up.
Yes, and one thing I'm gonna be. I said, one thing that I'm gonna be looking for throughout the entire 2021 Extreme E season is looking at the drivers who don't have as much experience with off-road racing and see how much they improve throughout the course of the season. I know Jamie Chatwick obviously doesn't have a lot of experience on off-road, and for some drivers the transition will be easier, and while others they'll have a difficult time. And looking at the first race of the season, when we get to the season finale at the end of the year, it's going to be interesting to see which drivers grow and which ones continue to have a hard time, because I know Extreme E off-road, it's really a different discipline than what most drivers are used to.
Very different discipline, of course. Along with Jamie, we also have Jenson Button there, former Formula One world champion, getting his trial on off-road racing. So it's really interesting field, one of the most star-studded fields out there, and definitely we're going to be following all the updates and providing post-race coverage of the Extreme E Ocean X Prix. Of course, definitely we encourage you to visit extreme-e.com for viewing, depending on where you're located. Some places have tape delay coverage, but definitely we encourage everyone to check that out. And we're going to check in with Daniel for an update on the GT World Challenge, followed by NASCAR.
Yes, GT World Challenge has just started its third round of the season. It's the 1,000 kilometer of Paul Ricard at Les Castellets, south of France. It's a beautiful place. I have been there a couple of weeks ago for the Italian Formula 4, and Formula 1 will host its French Grand Prix in a couple of weeks from now. The race is like 15 minutes after the start, and let's see the running order so far. Mirko Bortolotti for Lamborghini, a works driver, is leading the standings from Davide Rigon in the Iron Lynx Ferrari. And Vincent Abril is third in the HRT Mercedes. So definitely three big teams when it comes to endurance racing. This grid is huge. There are 46 cars 47 cars actually on the grid, with one car already out, which looks like the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. But also we are following this race very closely because it's for the first time there will be an all-female crew. In GT World Challenge Europe, there are endurance races and sprint races. This weekend, it's endurance time. So three drivers, like in most of the big endurance championships. And the Iron Lynx by Iron Dames team, we've seen them competing in some of the most important championships worldwide, like the European Le Mans Series, like the World Endurance Championship, like the Ferrari Challenge. We will also speak about it a little bit later on. But really, Iron Dames making a big mark on motorsport lately for women in the sport. They are for the first time lining up a fully female crew here in the GT World Challenge. There have been some female entries before, namely like Simone De Silvestro last year. She did a race at the Nürburgring, but also there were some others in the previous years. But for the first time, they are sharing the same car, and the Ferrari 488 GT3 this weekend will be shared by one of the biggest names in motorsport worldwide for women in motorsport, and with Catherine Legg. Catherine will be sharing the car with Sarah Bovey and Dorian Pin. Bovey is a former W Series racer, and this year she is racing in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, also with Iron Dames. And Dorian Pin just joined the all-female crew in the Iron Dames after being selected by the FIA Women in Motorsport Commission earlier this year for the Girls on Track program that handed Maya Weog contract with the Ferrari Driver Academy. So definitely a very interesting team. They are currently down to P44. They had a pretty challenging qualifying earlier this morning. They are competing in the Pro-Am class, so we'll definitely have to look their position in class, but overall they are currently P44. Yeah, so less than 20 minutes into the race. It's a 6-hour race, so still plenty of time to recover.
Yes, plenty of time still left in the GT World Challenge Europe event there at La Castellet at the Art Circuit. And while they're finishing up their action today, tomorrow it'll be time for NASCAR's longest race of the season, 600 miles of racing, the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Drivers have entered this event with the mindset of it being a true test of endurance and machine. Still a challenge, but it's a little easier than the past because drivers have put in a lot of effort with their strength and conditioning programs. Plus, the cars have gotten so reliable that mechanical failures are somewhat surprising nowadays. Joe, we know times have changed, but is the Coca-Cola 600 still one of the hardest races to win on the NASCAR schedule?
Yes, it is. It is still one of the hardest races to win in the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. One of the big things, of course, still that endurance. And, of course, the track is changing. So even though you might have a vehicle set up for the nighttime, you got to survive the daytime portion. If you have a vehicle set up for the daytime portion, you got to survive the nighttime portion. And the big thing is not like the other races where you have, most of the race under the lights or most of the race under the daytime. It is so long. You got to have that perfect setup. We see a lot of comers and goers, as they always say in NASCAR. Drivers coming to the front, going to the back. That's the big thing. One of the things I think that has really altered this race is the fact it's the one race with 4 stages. We don't have 3 stages like the other races. This one has 4 stages, 100 laps each stage. It's something where I feel that has really made it to where it almost feels like 4 100-lap sprint races. Yes, it's still the challenge of surviving each stage, but I think overall that has been a big altering effect on the Coca-Cola 600, and probably it's part of the reason why we're not seeing some of the big mechanical failures and reliability issues like we used to before.
Yeah, you certainly bring up a lot of good points, especially about the transition. That's what's so unique about this race. The Coca-Cola 600 starts in the evening when it's still light outside, and then you experience different transitions. You go from daylight to twilight to darkness, just like that. And typically, some of the drivers who are up front when it's light out, by the end of the night, they've faded like outside the top 10 or sometimes even outside the top 15 in the Coca-Cola 600. We usually see a lot of comers and goers, and another point, you brought up was it's the only race with 4 stages, and I do think it does feel like four 100 lap sprint races, and with the Coca-Cola 600 being such a long event, I also think it helps the viewers at home. I know people have joked over the years about the Coca-Cola 600 being such a long race that that at some points they can tune out and or like take a nap and they wake up and the racing is still going, still a lot left to go, and with people's attention spans getting shorter and shorter, I think having 4 stages is certainly the way to go here in a long event. And we're talking about how hard it is to win this race. Right now, we only have 6 past active winners of the Coca-Cola 600 in the field. Kurt Busch won in 2010, Kevin Harvick 2011, 2013, Martin Truex Jr. 2016, 2019, Austin Dillon won in 2017, Kyle Busch 2018, and last year's winner Brad Keselowski won the Coca-Cola 600. And one driver looking for his first 600-mile race win is reigning Cup Series champion and last week's winner at Circuit of the Americas, Chase Elliott. Last year, it seemed like Elliott was destined to win the 600 until I called to come down pit road late, cost them a potential victory. Do you think we'll see a repeat Coca-Cola 600 race winner or someone new checking off the crown jewel event?
With this race, I feel we're going to see probably most likely one of the past winners win this race. It is very challenging, and you have to have the perfect team, the perfect setup, perfect car. When you talked about those names, Brad Keselowski, Team Penske, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, they're with Gibbs. I think those three are essentially the teams are you going to be seeing the winner come from. Kevin Harvick's going to have a bit of a challenge. Stewart-Haas Racing, they are not 100%. We know that. Austin Dillon, keep the car in one piece. They seem to have pretty good pace. I'll also be watching Tyler Reddick. The other thing we've seen here at the Coca-Cola 600 too, the number of first-time winners. We saw Casey Mears get his first win here. Matt Kenseth got his first win here. Bobby Labonte. I mean, there's a good, impressive list of first-time winners in the Coca-Cola 600. I do believe we're going to see a repeat winner in this event.
I'm actually going to go to opposite you. I think we're going to see a brand new winner to the Coca-Cola 600 winner's circle, but I do think it's going to be a driver who's won already this season. And speaking of Chase Elliott, his win last week was the 268 Cup win for Hendrick Motorsports, tying in with the legendary organization Petty Enterprises. Now all 4 Hendrick drivers have won a race this year and looking like the team to beat in the championship. Alex Bowman already have 2 wins. I know we've already said that's really surprising to us. We didn't expect Bowman to have 2 wins this early in the season. William Byron had a win at Homestead, and he's enjoyed some really strong consistency. Kyle Larson has a win and 3 consecutive second place finishes entering Charlotte this weekend, and Chase Elliott had his first win of the year last week at COTA. Which team will cool off Hendrick's hot streak, if anyone?
When it comes to Hendrick hot streak, boy, I'm leaning towards, and this is going to be a shock to many, but I do think it's going to be William Byron. We know they are fast in the mile and a half. They got a win at Homestead. And they have a pretty they had a pretty impressive streak of top 10 finishes. Yes, it ended at COTA with a 11th place finish, but we know had there been a restart, that could have easily changed. It could have been in the top 10, maybe lower, because it could get crazy. But they were 1 position away from keeping that streak going. I think they're going to reestablish that streak, and I think when it comes to Hendrick Motorsports, William Byron, I believe, is going to be the team that's going to lead them. As for if we're going to see any other team try to bring the fight to Hendrick, it's going to be Gibbs. Gibbs is going to be up there. Penske will be up there. I do think it's essentially going to be those 3 teams that we're going to be seeing battling in the front.
And as for teams that's going to cool off Hendrick's hot streak, this might come to a shock, but I'm going to say nobody. I'm going to say nobody has anything for Hendrick right now. I remember at the beginning of the season we said that the big 3 teams were Hendrick, Penske, and Gibbs. But right now, it seems like Hendrick Motorsports has definitely found something above the rest, and they're in their own little zip code. So I think if we're looking at tiers right now in the Cup Series, you definitely have to put Hendrick Motorsports on tier 1, and then Gibbs and Penske are in tier 2, and then everybody else is in tier 3 trying to play catch up. And an hour before we went on the air, qualifying took place, 1 round, 1 time lap. A slight mistake means you're starting deep in the field, so a lot on the line. And it's funny we're talking about Hendrick Motorsports domination because the Hendrick cars on the pole is Kyle Larson starting up front at during the Coca-Cola 600 tomorrow. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. from JTG Doherty Racing joining him on the front row. And overall, Hendrick looking strong overall. Larson on pole. Chase Elliott starting third. William Byron fourth, and Alex Bowman seventh. So all four Hendrick cars in the top 10, starting to look like the Hendrick of old right now, with four really competitive cars that can go out there and win every single week. And coverage of the 62nd running of the Coca-Cola 600 gets underway tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. Last night, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series had their race won by John Hunter Nemeth, scoring his third race win of the year. But however, the big talking point was Trey Hutchins and Johnny Sauter walking away from a scary crash when Hutchins' truck almost stalled on the track, and Johnny Sauter made hard contact with him, destroying both trucks. Luckily, both drivers were okay. Really bad news for Trey Hutchins. That was his only truck and is absolutely destroyed. So we're going to be following what's going to happen with his single truck program moving forward. And in a little while, the NASCAR Xfinity race is going to begin soon at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1, and with Stewart Haas Racing driver Riley Hurst starting on the pole.
And great stuff, always covering NASCAR, because from my side, it's always really interesting to learn more here in Europe. We don't have like that huge background in NASCAR, but it's really interesting always to learn more from knowledgeable guys like you. Here we had the Ferrari Challenge Europe race, the first race today. And Michel Gatting is really having a mega season in the Ferrari One Make series this year. I was in Monza for the first race of the season, and she had a pole position and one win and a second place. In Red Bull Ring, she had the perfect weekend, doing a two pole position, 2 fastest lap, and 2 race victories. And now in Brno, in Czech Republic, the third round of the season, she had pole position this morning. She did claim a pole position, even though it was a little bit of a influence session by some red flags. The track was really tricky. There were a lot of drivers spinning and an accident, and there were a couple of red flags. So she had really just one attempt, one lap. And she put it on pole. So again, the Iron Dame Michel Gatting having a great season in the Ferrari Challenge, always for the all-female team Iron Dames, as we said before. And in first race that went on in the Czech Republic like 1 hour ago, she finished second. Unfortunately, she could not defend her P1 at the start. Niccolò Schirò, the Italian driver that was back in the championship since his last run in 2018, he was able to pass her from P4 on the grid. Mega start from Schirò, and then Gatting did have the speed to try to attack back, but again there were 3 safety cars, so the very few laps in the green conditions. She couldn't find a way around the Italian driver, and so she finished P2. But as I wrote on our website, when second place is your worst result of the season, you know you are having a great run. So definitely, tomorrow it's going to be interesting to see another qualifying effort from Michel, and then another race, of course. The Danish driver is also competing in the European Le Mans Series together with the other Iron Dames, so a very experienced driver going against some of the best Ferrari specialists this year. And we will be reporting from our races also tomorrow.
Very exciting. See how everything turns out for Michel. Overall, it's going to be a really good weekend. Of course, we still have MotoGP racing this weekend, and they are racing at Mugello. Of course, that was site of Formula One's one of the more crazier races, especially with that long front stretch, which we saw a crash during a restart after a safety car. The track record today, Fabio Quartararo and his Yamaha broke that track record, claiming pole behind the pair of Ducatis with Pecco Bagnaia, looking for a home Grand Prix win, and Johan Zarco, third, the Prime Tech Ducati team. So essentially, the top 3 in the points are on the front row in the same order. Jack Miller, who is 4th in the points, he is starting 5th. When it comes to Mugello, and especially down a long front stretch, we know that is going to play in the favor of Ducati. But the technical aspect, especially, we know the Yamahas are going to be better than that. Which rider, especially between Sarkos, Bagnaia, and Quartararo, you feel is going to have the upper hand?
Oh, without a doubt, Fabio Quartararo. That lap right there to break the record, that was absolutely an incredible drive from Fabio Quartararo. And I think right now, if I'm looking at all of the riders who have the upper hand, is certainly him. And also it's going to be fun watching Jack Miller is going to be able to do this weekend as well.
Definitely going to be really fun to see what Jack Miller does in this race. And I think when it comes to the Ducatis as well, I think overall they're going to have that edge in the front stretch. But Quartararo, he looked really fast when it came to qualifying and laying down that really fast lap. I don't see, unless he has something goes wrong, I think it's going to be really hard to pass him in that technical aspect. And of course, that technical aspect, not only do we have the curves, elevation changes, a lot of that as well. So that's going to be like a big factor, is essentially that long front stretch. The way I see the start, if we have the Ducatis 1-2, it's going to take Quartararo a few laps to get around him. But if he can pull off perfect laps, especially in the technical section, he's going to come towards the front. It's just going to be a matter of being picture perfect. And I think that start is going to be really critical for Ducati to have any chance. Now, lately, we've been talking about, especially when it comes to MotoGP, Honda. We have only seen one Honda rider, usually in the top 10, sometimes even none. In fact, we have none in the top 10 right now. However, we got to talk about Yamaha. They only have one factory rider in the top 12. Maverick Vinales, he is back in 13th place. And Franco Morbidelli in that Petronas Yamaha, the non-factory team, he is 10th. Rossi, way back in 19th place. We've seen Morbidelli. If he has a good day and a good bike, he is going towards the front. He is bringing results for that non-Yamaha team. When it comes to, especially considering the performance of Morbidelli in the Petronas Yamaha, should there be any discussion about him possibly going to the factory Yamaha team?
I mean, silly season really waits for nobody and starts at any time. I guess you could talk about him going to the factory team and trying to get on a better bike to try to improve his performance each week. And I know you just mentioned Valentino Rossi there, and one thing I'm wondering. Like when I first started following MotoGP, the one name that I heard all the time was Valentino Rossi. And lately, he's really struggled a lot lately. And I'm wondering, I'm not really sure about this, but I'm wondering if we could be witnessing the end of Valentino Rossi's MotoGP career, or at least the final years of it, at least.
I'm starting to wonder about that too. The inconsistency has really been lagging. Of course, unlike Formula One, where you do need to really have both riders up there, Quartararo being up there, he could handle everything. Of course, it might get a little harder if you now have to try to pass 2 or 3 Ducatis if Jack Miller gets up there and starts messing around. But definitely when it comes to the Yamahas, I'm starting to wonder about Franco Morbidelli. Should they start seeing him as a potential boost up into that factory team? We'd love to hear from everyone in the comment sections or the chat room. What do they believe should we see Morbidelli be considered for that seat? Now, another rider, and this one going for 3 in a row, Jack Miller. And if he does, he'll be the first rider since Marc Marquez in 2019 to win 3 in a row or more consecutive races. So it's been pretty crazy with all the essentially changes of MotoGP with Marc Marquez missing races, and then last year's changing season, and then so many different winners. It's crazy to think it's been 2019 since we had somebody win 3 in a row. Will Sunday's race performance show whether Jack Miller was riding on momentum or prove he is a serious threat in the championship?
Oh, absolutely. I think if Jack Miller is able to go out there and win three in a row, I certainly believe that he could be a serious threat for the championship. And as the season goes on, you'll definitely see who's a contender and who's the pretender.
Contender, pretender. I know we talk a lot about that, especially in NASCAR, where it's so easy to get one race win, get in the playoffs, and then becomes who's real contender. I have to agree. I feel if Jack Miller could pull three in a row, he is contender. Even if in the top five, contender. If we see him a little further towards the back, I think it's going to be something where then we might be talking about, is he consistent enough to contend for that championship? So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the Mugello Grand Prix. And of course, the last time Ducati won the Italian Grand Prix, 2018, Jorge Lorenzo in Ducati, Jack Miller and Pecco, they're both going to try to become that next rider to do that. And it's going to be a very early morning, especially if you're in the West Coast, 5 a.m. in the morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. And of course, for all our friends in Alaska, that's 4 a.m. for MotoGP. We can never miss MotoGP. Always fun and exciting, especially in Mugello. One of the things we are sort of missing out right now is Extreme E qualifying, but Daniel has an update on qualifying from the Ocean X Prix.
Yeah, we are like 3 cars in. The Veloce Racing team went out first with Jamie Chadwick doing a pretty decent lap. Pretty good job. She was in where I can't see the lap times right now on my timing screen, but she's still leading. The Andretti were second. They, as far as I understand, they had another issue like this morning. So really not great weekend for the Andretti team. They had a problem with Hansen when Hansen was in the car, and then Munnings they did manage to get her lap, but it was a little bit compromised already. And now the Rosberg Extreme Racing team is completing their lap. Molly Taylor did a really fantastic job, and she's 30 seconds faster than the Veloce benchmark. She's now entering the switch zone and will hand over to Kristoffersson and her teammate. And so from what we've seen so far in the first lap, she is expected to put the her electric SUV in the first place. But so far, Jamie Chadwick and her teammate Stefan Sarrazin are still in P1 after their second round, which is I would say, as we previously said, pretty decent job from someone that didn't even complete a lap in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and while we're on the subject of Extreme E, I think it's finally time to start everyone's favorite game, pick a winner. And Daniel, I really hate to go back to you so fast, but I think it's appropriate to let you kick things off. Who do you think's going to win Extreme E this weekend?
Well, I think the winners from the first race are definitely looking fast again. Molly Taylor, I think, is one of the fastest female racing drivers in rally out there. But this time I would go for the Lewis Hamilton X44 team. I think that Christina Gutierrez and Sebastian Loeb might have the upper hand this time. Maybe they are not the fastest on qualifying lap on one lap. I think the Rosberg team is a little bit faster in that, but on pure performance. But on the long run, I think the Lewis Hamilton's X44 team might just have the upper hand this time. When we see Kristoffersson going back on track and still having 28 seconds advantage on the Veloce duo.
Great minds think alike. I was going back and forth this morning trying to figure out who I'm going to pick for Extreme E, and I'm going to go with the duo of Sebastian Loeb and Christina Gutierrez.
When it comes to Extreme E, one of the things I think is going to make it really challenging, of course, we have the unique format where the top two will advance and then somebody from one of the other races will advance in as well. With that said, I'm going to go a little bit different route. I'm going to go with Sarah Price and Kyle pulling off the upset win. Kyle has the aggressive speed. He needs to bring that home in one piece. Sarah Price has shown she has the speed, the consistency, and can take care of the vehicle. If they are even in that second race, they don't make it to the top race, that might be an advantage because I see them being the best of the rest in that race, getting to the finals, and then the final race, I can see them really shining and pulling off the big surprise win. And we have Adam's pick for Extreme E as well.
My pick for Extreme E is Molly Taylor.
Yes, thanks, Adam. And next, the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600. I'll go first, and I think it's gonna be a driver who let it get away from them last year due to that late call to come down the pit road. While others stayed out, I think Chase Elliott is gonna win the Coca-Cola 600 for the first time and go back to back, winning 2 races in a row, and he's gonna get on a hot streak heading into the summer.
When it comes to the Coca-Cola 600, I think it's going to be a driver that has won already. As much as I feel like it could be somebody that has won there before, I'm going to go with a driver that hasn't won the Coca-Cola 600, but has essentially the team that can win the Coca-Cola 600 and make the car perfect for him. I'm going with William Byron, number 24. I see them pulling the win. Some people may call it an upset, but I don't see it as an upset. I think he has to be one of the favorites considering how strong that team is.
My pick for the Coca-Cola 600 is Kevin Harvick.
And I think I would go with Kobe. I think Chase Elliott will be my pick. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt because my knowledge of NASCAR is nowhere near yours, but yeah, I'm trying to learn more, and definitely I would say Elliott this time.
And next, MotoGP, the Italian Grand Prix at the Mugello circuit. Daniel, who do you think is going to win?
I'm going with Bagnaia, of course, home driver on the home track on the also Italian team. So I would go for Pecco Bagnaia.
And I know if it's like it feels like I picked this driver every single MotoGP race. I'm gonna go with the driver who set the track record, and that's gonna be Fabio Quartararo.
Fabio Quartararo is looking fast. I'm gonna go with another driver that's in this room, Johan Zarco. I think he's gonna pull off a big upset win, get that victory, and really show that he is serious about this championship.
My pick winner for MotoGP is Jack Miller.
And we definitely encourage everyone to share their picks on Pick a Winner here on YouTube and, of course, on our social media platforms. Down, do we have another update from the GT World Challenge race going on?
Oh, GT World Challenge. Let me check. Definitely, we are. Still with Mirko Bortolotti leading the pro class in the official Lamborghini team. Then Iron Links for Ferrari with Davide Rigon still second. So the third place has changed though. It's now the ACA Mercedes with Jules Gounon in third place. Still very early stages. Let's have a look at the girls team. They are currently they're making up some positions. They are P38. With Sarah Bovey behind the wheel, so Sarah starting the first stint. The Belgian driver, they've had a good choice of picking Sarah. I think she is a great GT driver and great for GT3. While we just had the third car finishing the run in Extreme E, which was the Rosberg Extreme E race car. And there is currently Nico Rosberg speaking on the live coverage, so I don't see the timing sheets, but I think that they are going P1. So still not confirmed, but I think they were like 20 seconds of advantage at the second timing. So I think they are P1.
And we definitely encourage everyone to be sure to follow the website racersbehindthehelmet.com. There you can find the full counter of all the female racers around the world, as you could tell from GTWC Europe, Extreme E, and of course the Indianapolis 500, which a reminder to everyone, 10 a.m. tomorrow. Indianapolis 500 coverage right here on the Grid Network with a special Grid Live pre-race. Definitely encourage everyone to check us out tomorrow. Be sure to subscribe and like to us right here on YouTube so you don't miss our coverage. And a special thank you to our Patreon subscribers. Be sure to join our Patreon, link in the video description. We are growing. We have passed our goal of 200 subscribers in the month of May. So a big thank you to everyone that has subscribed to us. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Grid Rating and at Grid_WML. Matt does a fantastic job with the Grid World Motorsport League. And Publis, they do a fantastic job of providing your dog with great goodies, including dog leashes, clothing, accessories, and the good news, all your purchases, a portion of that goes towards helping homeless, sick, and rescued dogs. Definitely a good cause that we care about. We, of course, here at the Grid Network have Kiska, the rescue dog from Alaska, so definitely something we care about, and we encourage everyone to visit Publis. Link in the video description as well. So definitely a lot of exciting races this weekend, and we thank you for tuning in today. And be sure 10 a.m. tomorrow, East Coast time, we'll be ready for the Indianapolis 500. Dan will be here. We're also going to have Ben Schneider, Kobe, and myself, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Be sure to share that. We'll be posting that later today, the video link, so you don't miss out. For Daniel at Racers, the girls behind the helmet, and Kobe at the podium finish, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day. Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Publis. Publis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out Publis.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.